Okay, let's begin. Bring your heels together, lightly touching, tongue on the roof of the mouth, and become aware of the crown of the head and both feet on the ground. So that forms like a very fine triangle, 2 feet and the crown of the head. We want to work with everything between the feet and the head. So first of all is just finding where that head point sits over the feet. Inflating the body by tightening the muscles a little bit just to lift the spine to counteract that collapse we often can have. And then just letting ourselves settle around the frame of the body. Let the weight of the arms gently help to drop the shoulders. Let the chest open and expand. Most important, the lower back. Make sure the lower back isn't held and there's space and room and softness for there to be movement in the hips. Hips tucking under, gently tucking as the lower back opens. And we can ask ourselves, are there any places in the body we're holding? Ask ourselves, is there anywhere in the body that feels collapsed? Anywhere in the body we can soften? Bring the feet parallel. We'll do the beginning of the form, which is sinking down, sliding down into the right foot, still sinking, pivoting the left, cross to the left, turning, stable 100% onto the left, turn back, the hands as well come in now, and finally settling. Breathe in, lift, and sink. Just going to do this exercise for a while. Bring the mind up through the body to the crown of the head. Send the mind down through to the feet and under the ground. Before you come up, bring the mind up as if the mind coming up is pulling up the body. Before you go down, start to send the mind down and the body follows. Bring the mind up, drawing on the body and the body. My hand here is my mind comes up and the body lifts. My mind starts to go down and the body follows, settling under the feet. About 2 feet under the ground, big pool of water. You can imagine it bubbling up through the body like a fountain coming up and the water level rising. And you can imagine that water table sinking and the body following. Back down under the feet. Water table rises. This is the mind rising up, or the intention to lift, and the body follows. The intention to change and sink. Then the body settles. Once we settle, we ask ourselves, is there anywhere else in the body I can release? Is the lower back still holding on? Does the chest feel open, falling round? Is the body aligned? Have I gone down so far that the ankles feel tight? Just try and find that place where you feel nicely connected and released and calm. Every single move starts somewhere. Let me try and explain. Every single move we do in Tai Chi is initiated by a thought. Otherwise, we wouldn't do anything. We just lie there, waiting. So we have an idea to do something which sets the body in motion. And it's a bit like driving a car. The car is the body. The car isn't going to go anywhere unless you, the driver, the bit that has the intention to do something, starts the car. And the first thing you do is turn the key, but that doesn't get the car going. That just gets the motor going. And then you have to do the clutch and the gears. And then when everything engages, you get the movement. Now, in Tai Chi, the movement comes slightly after, just the same way as we drive a car, because the muscles have to get to the right tone before the body starts to move. So just like a car would be, the prop shaft has to turn, the gears have to engage, the tires, then everything moves. Our muscles have to engage the weight of our body before we get movement. And we often miss this, sensations of the exact process of how a body starts to move, because we're so used to doing it. We bypass, we think of moving and we move. We don't actually feel the changes that happen within a slight second before the movement takes place. Why this is important is it's really good to have a very clear model of how we move in Tai Chi, so that we don't just do the movement with our hands. We don't just do the movement with the legs. We use the mind. We use the intention of the mind, the yi. In Chinese, they call it yi, active mind intention, to set the body in motion. And this is important because it's different from the awareness. The awareness just watches and becomes aware of body sensations in the moment as they're happening, but it's not active, it's passive. The active side is the intention. So when we train this up and down movement, and we say sink, have an intention to let go before the movement takes place. Before the movement takes place, the intention happens and draws the movement out of the body with it, or draws the movement with it. The intention to lift starts in the mind, bubbles up through the body and the mind, and the body has to follow. This is how we want to practice. We don't just want to go down and up and down. Let's have a go together. With the feet parallel, the body nicely upright. We draw into that pool of water under the feet, and we let it slowly rise up through the body. And as it passes the knees start to expand and lift. As it passes the chest starts to lift. As it passes the shoulders melt and the arms float to the fingertips and the head top. And then as we sink down, it's like letting the plug out from under the feet, and the water drains down. And with it, the body settles, everything finishing together. Mind, body. Mind down, body follows. Mind continues going down like a strong stream of shower, sinking down. Mind comes up like a fountain, rising, 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 rising. It's not just one thought that happens. It's like a stream. And down, down. It's not just one bit of down. It's continually down the whole time. Down, 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 down. Okay? We do the second loosening exercise. It's the same idea. With the body, excuse me, I've got a tickle. The legs and the trunk had the main key ingredients in the second loosening exercise. So we start here, we go down, mind down, 2, mind down 3, continuing mind down 4, mind coming up, mind coming up, mind coming up, mind coming up to the count of 4, mind going down, 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 under the feet, down, coming up from the feet, 1, coming up from the feet, 2, coming up from the feet, 3, coming up from the feet, crown of the head, release down, 1, release down, 2, release down, 3, release down, 4, 2, 3, 4. When we sink, we go down. We're aiming to finish in a very connected, very loose condition. It's not so much about the movement, it's about how we let ourselves drop into connection. It's about how we soften the body so that it arrives with gravity into a connected condition. Now that connected condition needs to be loose. If a wind blew through the room, the body would move loose, not held on, not tight, not stable, but loose, upright. So it feels to me, when I do it, as if all the tissue is sliding down. All the tissue in the body, all the muscles are softening. Everything just feels like it's sliding down around the skeleton until sunken, stable and loose. It's not about moving from position A to position B. It's about melting from position A into position B. Okay, it's one continuous change from the top right through. So we're asking our knees to be bending the whole time. We're asking our hips to be seating. We're asking our chest and shoulders to be softening the whole time until we land into this connected position from which we gather under the ground and come back up again and come back down into the connected condition. If there's any thoughts or questions about your own practice with this, with what I'm saying, please unmute and ask. If not, we'll just carry on. I want you to be clear that it's not just movement. We want the mind and the body to be working together. And the mind, they say in the classics, the mind leads the body. Like when the mind is strong and the intention is really clear, the body responds. And that's how you know you're doing the right thing. So when you have a strong intention to do something and it actually happens and manifests, it's a definite intention. It's like, I've got an intention to clear my garage of all its mess, but I haven't done it in weeks. And it needs doing. And I think it's an intention, but it isn't a real intention. It'll be an intention when it actually makes my body do it. So when that intention is strong enough that it actually makes me get up off my arse and go and do it, then I can talk about it being a proper intention. Until then, it's a dream and an idea. Okay? And we want our movements in Tai Chi to come from being an intention, not an idea. So it's not an idea that I put my hands into that position. I want the right message going through to my body that I settle and fall and slide into that position. Can you see the difference between an idea and an intention? Yeah. So you've got an intention to do a move, and if you're thinking about it and making it happen, it's not really a strong and deep intention. It's an intention of sorts, but we want the intention to be that the body has to follow it 100%, has to follow what you're trying to achieve. So we have to train that so the mind and the body come together. And this exercise, this number 2 exercise, is a great one because we're training all the letting go in the legs, all the letting goes in the lower back, and the torso and shoulders to follow. So there's a sliding down or a melting down or drawing downwards that the whole body follows. And it's not just moving into a new position with the upper body static. All the muscles in the upper body are changing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Down, body follows, keep sinking, body follows, keep sinking, body follows. Okay. So, a couple of things. It's very easy to get caught up in the swinging of the arms because they're doing the most movement and they're nice and busy and loud and it's very easy to see what they're doing and feel more. And it's very hard to feel what's happening between the shoulder blades, what's happening in the lower back, what's happening in the hip joints. These are real subtle sensations. And because the arms are busy, it's very easy to get caught up in the busyness and not feel the more subtle sensations. So we draw in the focus of the work, training, we draw our focus and awareness into those subtle places. So as we're doing bigger movements with the arms, we can feel more subtle things at the same time. Our body's opening and closing. Body's getting bigger and expanding and sinking. So let's just do a little experiment. If we take posture, say ward off left. Left foot forwards, right foot towards somewhere between 12:30 and 1:30, whichever's comfortable. So both feet can be on the ground, nice and flat, and the hips turn to face straight ahead. Nice round feeling in the left arm. So the center of the hand on the center line where the buttons are. Center line right between the feet, 50-50 weight, right in the middle. Feel the curve of the arm. Include the back and include the right arm. So this is like holding a big ball. Holding a big ball. The outside of the arm, the back, and then down the outside of the right arm is all part of the skin of that ball. And it should feel like this ball we've got here, this big ball, is sitting on top of the hips. Shoulders relaxed and down, sitting on top of the hips. So if you close your eyes for a moment and you just feel the shape of the arms, open up all the joints, let the arms, as if the body is being pumped up with a bicycle tire. You're just filling up lightly. Every single part of the arm is in your awareness. Your awareness is like a bicycle pump filling up inside the arm. Your shoulders and your chest, back of the neck through to the crown of the head, every single part of the body is still staying loose, but it's also being filled up. It's just like a big ball resting on top of the hips. Soften off everything. So that ball's just lightly balanced. There's your posture. A couple of things with the posture we should also look at. It's very, very easy. Have a look at my right leg. It's very easy for the knee to tilt in. Really easy, especially when I move into a posture. Okay, in a static posture like this, it's quite easy to have both feet nice and planted, have the legs bowed open, hips facing forwards, and find the posture. But you'll find when you move into a posture and the foot has to turn in, it's very, very easy for the leg to do that Elvis Presley thing and have a bit too much movement in it and lose our structure. Okay? So we want our structure to be round in the base, round in the upper body. Nice and full. But full doesn't mean strong and hard. Full just means full of awareness. Full of awareness. And as our body becomes full of awareness, so it feels expansive and bigger. Okay. Let's try ward upright. So the right foot forward. The left foot can go anywhere between 11:30 and 10:30, wherever feels comfortable for you. The crease of the hand, or again on the center line, the body on the center line, so between the perineum and the crown of the head, centrally stable. Try not to have the central line coming over the front foot. Try and bring it really central. Hand at the height of the throat, a little bit higher there, Fred. A little bit higher with the right hand to the height of the throat. Yeah. Fingers of the left looking in. Now we want the shoulders relaxed and fill out that shape with our awareness. So you can close your eyes and just feel inside the arm. Ask questions, are all the joints open? If that was a hollow tube, are there any blocks in that tube? At the joints in particular? Could water pass through that hollow arm? Does it feel circular? Does it feel round, like it's resting on the legs? Next little bit, have a little look. In the form, we move from here to here. Okay? We move from here to here. How does that happen? Okay, we're using our back leg, we're expanding our back leg. So the force or the power to move from here to here happens because the back knee is going from being bent to being straight. Not straight locked, but from being bent to a bit straighter. The back leg, if you look at my back leg here, just roll my hands up, you can see the back knee goes from that position to that position. While the knee is pushing, I have to make sure that it doesn't lift my body or move my body forwards. I stay in the center, and that little push from the back leg mechanically turns my hips. So I stay in the center and I turn around that axis. So it's like I'm a door, a rotating door, and someone's just pushing my left hip forwards, but it's my left leg doing it. The hips have to be very soft so that that movement doesn't translate into that movement. Let's have a go. We're in ward off left, the back knee is bent, it's going to straighten by about an inch, and we want that movement to come into the hips and turn the hips. Nothing more, just turn the hips. just turn the hips. While the leg is straightening, the hips are turning. As soon as the leg stops straightening, the turn stops. It comes from the leg. It doesn't come from turning the waist. It comes from the straightening of the leg. I'm not moving forward over my front foot. It's not pushing my upper body. It's just turning the hips. Okay? If this front hip is locked, it'll make me do something different. The hips have to be very loose so that this movement of the back leg expanding is translated into a turn. Got a question there, Catherine, just having a look.
I've got a question. I mean, what you're describing there is one of the things that I don't actually feel like I've quite got the grasp of, and that is dropping back leg in order to get that, in order to generate the force or whatever it is that tells either hands or creates that turning.
Sure.
I just don't feel like I've quite understood how you drop your leg, or does it just kind of, do you just open your hip a bit more, or do you what is it that that happens to make the leg drop in order for you to do that, the forward generate that forward motion that tends to come from it. So
what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to break it down into a more simplified way of explaining things to make sure we've got a really clear structure, so that when we start to work more with the force, we've got the structure in the body. So like, imagine if you squeeze a toothpaste at the bottom of the toothpaste comes out the end. When you squeeze the bottom of the toothpaste, it doesn't make the tube move. The tube stays still. And the force that you put in goes through the paste and comes out the other end. Okay, that's exactly what we want our body to behave in the same way, so that when we put a little bit of force into the foot, pushes into the ground, and the knee straightens, it doesn't make the body move like that. It just simply makes the body turn. Okay, so the first thing is try and use a very small amount. You don't want to squeeze the toothpaste too hard, because it'll, you'll have enough for the whole family, won't you? If you or enough for the next week, you just want the right amount. Oh, got a nice cat there.
Yeah, he's come to join in.
Right. So you just squeeze a little bit with your foot. You just straighten your knee a little bit, and you try and make that movement of the leg into a turn.
Yeah.
So imagine you got two sticks like that, and you want to turn the pencil. That's the sort of movement we want. We don't want to be pushing it that way. We want to be pushing it so this pencil can stay level and rotate. So the push from the back leg doesn't lift us. It doesn't move us forwards. It just turns around that axis.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first step. How you find that force, how you drop and rebound, we'll get to. But the first thing is, when the rebound comes, the body wants to be loose enough so it can be translated into a turn, not a movement.
Yeah.
Okay, so we practice it in such a way that we can feel our hips being soft, body's upright, spine is in place. Use the back leg to turn. The front hip has to soften even more. So the turn is very much right around that axis. Push the leg into the ground and it turns the body. Push the foot into the ground and it turns the body. The knee straightens. Push the foot into the ground the knee straightens, the body turns. Okay. I'll give you an example of what this is like, and it might make more sense. If you imagine a small boat, and you've got one foot on the boat and the other foot on the bank on a canal or something, and you push off with the foot that's on the canal, the boat starts to move. Okay, it's what you do with a leg on the canal that makes the boat move. And it's the same here. It's what you do with the back leg. Back leg is like it's on the canal, on the side of the canal. You push your foot into the ground and the boat starts to turn the way you want it to turn. Like you're pushing yourself away, like you're pushing force backwards and downwards away from you. And as a result, your body moves in the opposite direction. And mechanically, you make it into a turn rather than a forward movement, because that force could push you forwards if your hips didn't allow that force to turn you. So when the mind goes out to the side, the body follows it. In this movement, the force is to the corner, the mind comes up, out to the side, and the body follows it. And the body only moves while you're pushing into the ground.
But this is sinking into the leg, isn't it?
There's a bit of sinking going on into the front leg, yeah.
Not the back leg, sink into the back leg in order to get the...
You're sinking into both legs, but you're also activating the back leg. So the back leg's expanding, the back leg's getting longer, but you're also sinking into it. It's hard to explain, that one. It's very hard to explain, but yes, there's a sinking into both legs. Let's have a go.
But it's really an extension of number 5, is it not?
Yeah, but in number 5, when we get into the center, that the expansion of the back leg doesn't move us forwards. The expansion of the back leg doesn't lift us and it doesn't move us forwards.
Yeah.
The expansion of the back leg is different in number 5. It's much easier to feel in this one, and then we'll work with number 5 later.
Okay.
So this one is, just think of it as a turn. Just think of it as a turn around the axis. Don't let the axis move in any way. Keep it in place and turn around the axis. Forward of right, turn around the axis. The only power to move your body into a turn comes from the change you make in the leg. Right? It doesn't come from anything you do with your arms. It doesn't come from anything you do with your torso. It comes from the legs. The upper body is passive like a pillion passenger on a motorbike. The upper body is like a pillion passenger. The power is the motorbike, which is the base. The base is active, the upper body follows. There's no pushing the arms out. There's no turning the body. The body is turned by the leg. As soon as the leg stops being active, the upper body has to stop. Okay. The next little bit to add into this is that when you turn the waist, the shoulders turn. So you don't move the shoulders, you move the waist and you wait for the shoulders to turn. Then, because the arms are connected, you wait for the elbows to turn. You wait for the wrists to follow. So really, your foot is pushing your hands. Your foot's pushing your hands. The foot is pushing your hands. Your foot into the ground pushes my hands to the side through the body, just like the toothpaste. Because the hips connected to the shoulders, the hips turn, the shoulders must turn, the elbows must turn, the wrists must follow. So it feels like your hands are being moved by your foot. Try and do it a little bit slower, Kath. Right, really nice and steady and slow and smooth. Yeah. Try and feel the softness in the front hip especially, and how that allows the hips to follow and glide what you're doing with the back leg. Yeah. And you see, you've got to be quite connected to start with. Otherwise, it ends up putting yourself in the position rather than letting it come from the leg.
I don't know whether this is right or it's just my peculiarity. I don't know, but when you push off and then you kind of move into the front leg ever so slightly, it's like that 50, 45, 55 or whatever. It's like, it's when I connect into the front when the movement seems to happen. Is that right? I mean,
Yeah. In order
I mean,
to,
it's as you land in the front in that like 55 in the front, 45 in the back, that's when the turn occurs, or seems to be for me.
it's in the change between the two that you get the movement.
Yeah.
So your weight is shifting.
Yeah, sorry.
Your weight is shifting slightly to the front foot, ever so slightly to the front foot. Your body stays in the same position. Your weight shifts to the front foot, and as it's shifting, the body's turning.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, I wasn't sure whether it was in that transition or whether it happens as you land in the front. It is somewhere in between anyway. That
explore it.
I'm aware of.
Explore it and have a feel of it and see what you find.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See how your body responds to what you do in the back leg. And think of it as pouring your weight from one leg to the other leg, but you're not pushing your torso forwards. Your torso stays exactly in the center.
Yes.
So it's like when you open a door, the door and the hinges on the door stays exactly where it is, because the hinges keep it in place. Well, what's happening here is I keep my torso in place, but all it does is turn. It doesn't move its alignment forwards.
Yeah.
It just stays where it is and turns. And the body sinks slightly to the front foot as I'm pushing off with the back, but that creates the space for the body to turn into the front foot. Let's go through the form. Let's go up to cross hands. We'll go through this movement. We'll pass through this movement and we'll look at it as we go through the form. Give the body time to settle down. Fill out every single part of the body with your awareness. Make sure there's softness throughout the body. Make sure the body is loose. And it will move if a strong wind blows through it. Let the body slide down. Find the right foot. Position the left. Glide across, sinking into the foot, turn 100% to the left. As you turn back, the foot and the hands together, 50-50, settle down. Take the mind under the feet, go right through the body. Bring the mind back like a fountain, like a waterfall or a shower. Under the feet, settle. Bring the alignment over the left foot. Turn the hips, feel the shoulders move, feel the elbow move, feel the wrist move. And the arm only moves while the hips are turning. The hips finish facing 3 o'clock. The arms finish on the center line of the body. Try and time it so the turning of the hips, the turning of the shoulder, the drawing of the elbow, the drawing of the wrist, all connected, finishing the weight on the back foot still. So you're turning around one axis, sinking and turning, facing 3 o'clock. Sink forwards. Now here you're going to squeeze something through like a tube of toothpaste. So the back leg expands or pushes into the ground. Relax the shoulders, let the hands drift forwards. Force from the back foot comes through to the hands. Move on to the front foot and turn. Turn the hips, turns the shoulders, draws the elbow, draws the wrist. Step, glide in. Posture, settle and sink. We're going to squeeze the back foot into the ground, expanding the back knee. Back leg gets longer. Relax the shoulders, the arms expand. Move on to the front foot, anti-clockwise turning. Turn clockwise, move the hips, shoulders, elbow. Feel that movement coming from the turning of the hips, not from the movement of the arm. It comes from the hips to the shoulder pulls on the elbow pulls on the wrist. When the hips finish turning, the arm finishes moving. Step, glide in. Turn to the corner. Squat. Step back. Turn open. Step back. Sink into 50-50. Drop the back leg or push the back foot into the ground. Release the shoulders. Squeeze out through the wrists. Step back. Move in, drop into the center. In the back leg through to the fingertips. Sit back. Feel your alignment. Don't turn the arms, don't turn the body, turn the hips. Feel the shoulders move. Picks up the elbows, picks up the wrists. When the hips stop turning, the shoulders stop, the hands stop. Single word. Small push of the back foot into the ground, through to both hands. Sink onto the left. Scoop. Left hands. Up the hands and turn the body. Turn back and fold the right or the left arm. Step to 10:30 with the heel of the left or the right. Sink in. Now this move of shoulder stroke is very much like all the right, in that when we expand the back leg, the hips turn. So the hips facing, my intention's facing towards 10:30. I turn towards 11 o'clock. Clockwise. My body turns with the expansion of the back leg. Keep turning as you move on to the front foot, 100%. White crane, spreads wings. Drop the right, lift the left. Turn the hips, feel the shoulders, feel it pull on the elbows, feel it pull on the wrists. Keep turning, the hands move. Turn back, the hands move. Step. Sink in. Expand the back leg through to the hands. Play guitar. Turn, feel the shoulders, feel it pull on the elbows, feel it draw the wrists. While you're turning, the hands move. When you turn back, they change direction. Glide in. Find a centrally stable position. Small increase of pressure or push into the back foot through to the hands. Sit back. Step forward. Deflect down. Intersect. And the hand comes from the back foot expanding. Shoulder dropping through to the punch. Fold. Sit back. Movement to push. We'll push the back foot into the ground, brings force through the body to the fingertips. Sit back. Cross hands. Turn the hands over. Turn open the left. And the right. Okay. So this term, we're going to focus a little bit on what the back leg does, that rebounding force or that expansion in the back leg to make sure that from a connected, centrally stable position, a little bit of something in the back leg then comes through to the hands. That's the idea of this term. Let's see if we can make that really happen in our practice. So we'll take it one little bit at a time, one step at a time. I'll try and engage with you if you've got any questions around it. Try and make it as clear as possible because it is something that's hard to find. But it'll add wings to your Tai Chi. It starts to be very much like an opening and closing feeling in the body. Yeah. Is there anything in that you want me to clarify, or anything in that you found, anything different, anything of interest in there?
Nothing different, that's fine.
Good.
Yeah, that's clarified it more for me and gives me a better idea of what I'm kind of looking for.
Yeah, great. We'll do some other sorts of practices like pushing into a wall that'll help feel the connectedness of the body and the forces. But I just want to do a gentle introduction tonight. I know it's a hot night, and I know not everybody's here either. So I just want to do a kind of a nice gentle introduction tonight. Get us back into the flavour of it. Yeah.
I mean, that's good for me because I feel I can interject with a question and there's nobody else.
No, sure, but the thing is that
I tend to let people, because very often people ask the questions that I wanted to ask anyway.
it's funny how that goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find that as well. I find that in a workshop or something, there'll be something, and somebody else carries the question, which is great. But if you have got questions, please ask, or please just write to me over the week, and then I can. What's useful is I can answer that question in the class. I have that question. I think about how the best way to put it across, and then I can bring that to what we look at in the class. Somebody was asking about the use of the mind and bringing the mind up and down through the body. And so I've kind of included that in some of the beginning of what we were doing at the beginning of this class as well. And that's the way I like to kind of like share what we do.
I suppose that kind of thing will probably make more sense to some people than others, wouldn't it? The moving the mind bit, because if you've done something like meditation, for instance, or fullness and that kind of thing, well, people already have a bit of an idea as to what that means. But
It's like standing meditation, really.
yeah,
What we want is just a very clear model. When you have a clear model of how you move or how you use the mind, whatever, then you've got a reflection to see if you're doing it or not.
yeah,
And you get to grasp with these things, which are really difficult to actually understand, because nobody really understands what the hell the mind is anyway. We have to have a model that we work with, and the more refined and intricate that model is, as our practice develops, the more useful it becomes. If the model's too simple, it's just black and white and we can't go further with it. Whereas when that model's more complex, it draws us into it more and more. Yeah. So
I think I mean another concept I've read about quite a lot is like body intelligence.
yeah,
Like body. I sometimes think my body's got a mind of its own anyway, but
yeah, the body's knows how to look after itself.
yes, it does.
Yeah, and if we could only listen, like the animals really know what they need. Like my dog will eat only the amount it wants to, and it knows when to stop. Whereas, you know, we kind of carry on a little bit, you know. But I don't.
Yes,
We have to learn how to listen to our bodies.
yes.
I know what I'm
Some-
saying.
I sometimes wonder if that's where addictions come from. It's something your body wants, not you necessarily. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think about these things and just tie myself up in knots usually. But
So do you do much meditation, Kath?
I have done. I mean, I've kind of looked at Buddhist philosophy, and I suppose Buddhist philosophy is the thing which I feel most at home with. But I certainly haven't read any of those great big books that they've got like this.
A lot of text to it.
Lots of texts. But I suppose out of everything, that seems to strike more of a chord with me than anything else, I guess. There's actually a Buddhist centre not far from me in Cumbria,
Right.
which is a really nice place to visit, whether you're
Is that Sally Lane?
it's called Conishead Priory.
Right.
It's in, oh gosh, where is it? Ulverston.
Right.
And it's by the coast there. It's like an old Gothic mansion that one of the lamas took over and has developed into a centre. I mean, he passed away recently. I think he was in his 90s, something like that. But it's very much an ongoing, you know, lots of courses, and if people want to visit there for weekend retreats, etc.
Right.
But like I say, it's sometimes a lot of the theory and philosophy, and I'm not really into getting in deeply in all of that. I tend to kind of
Sure. I mean, Tai Chi is really a bit. I mean, if you make distinctions between it, the philosophy of Tai Chi is much more Taoist.
yes, yeah. I like the book of, is it the book of Tao?
Yeah.
It's about that thing, isn't it?
Smaller.
You can read it and it all makes, you know, you can read it and it's very poetical and you can make of it what you will, but it's that thin.
It
So
doesn't need to be that big.
that's something that doesn't send me to sleep, like these great big tomes that you get with some religions.
Tibetan can be quite mystical.
Yeah, yeah,
Tao's mystical too, but it's very kind of, there's a simplicity to it which I like, which fits in with, because really, you know, you talk about Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a philosophy about change.
yeah,
Yin Yang is a philosophy of change, and then Tai Chi Chuan, which is what we're doing, means fist, Tai Chi fist, which is the fighting art of the philosophy. So it's how to use the body in terms of full and empty, constantly changing, but remaining grounded and centered for fighting or self-defense. That's Tai Chi Chuan. But the idea behind it is very Taoist in that we blend with gravity, we blend with nature, we follow rather than lead.
Yeah,
Um,
that's me.
yeah, we follow rather than lead, and it's very much about letting go
Yeah,
of ourselves, of our will, of our ego, of those sorts of aspects of it, and actually just listening. So when we push the foot into the ground, we listen to what the result of that is, and we allow ourselves to follow it rather than just doing the move, enforcing our will on the move, because we know we have to go to the corner. We actually do something small and let that feel how it plays through our body. And if we can do Taiji like that, then we have to listen deeply and we have to get out of the way. And those two things are key to kind of like a Taoist practice, really. So we're running out of time. We're talking. It's so hot we have to talk, you see. Not do too much training, but it's important. These ideas are important as well. You know.
I still feel we went through a lot, which was meaningful to me,
Right.
even if we have chatted for the last 10 minutes. So,
if there's anything comes from it,
yeah.
in your practice in the week, just drop me an email.
Okay, will do.
Okay, great. Have a good week.
You too.
Next week we'll look at other postures and we'll start to develop this idea of rebounding in a more thorough way. We'll start to develop that over the term.
Okay.
Right. Thanks, Kath. Thanks, Fred. I don't know where he's gone. Okay. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.